Michael Jackson's teenage Alachemy intensified when the Jacksons' second album for CBS, Going Places, released in the winter of 1977, was a major disappointment. Despite the fact that the first album for the new label had received mixed reviews and had only gone gold when everyone was hoping for platinum sales. CBS sent the group back to Philadelphia to work once again with Kenny Gamble and Leon Huff. The title track of Going Places only went to number 52 in Billboard's Top 100. The album peaked at 63 in the Top 200. In the UK, it peaked at number 45 and only stayed in the charts for a week. However, despite being sporadic sales, the Jacksons at Epic were still faring better than Jermaine Jackson was at Motown. His Feel the Fire album, released at the same time, peaked at number 174 in America and did even worse in the UK and the rest of Europe. Most industry observers now believe that Motown was mysteriously intent on wasting Jermaine's career if he was married to the boss's daughter. On Going Places, Michael wrote a rhythm number called Different Kind of Lady, which became a successful club hit but was seldom played on radio. It was not issued as a single. Another song penned by the group, Do What You Wanna, was also unreleased as a single. By this time, the Jacksons hadn't got a number one record since Mama's Pearl in 1971. Joseph was concerned. It was painfully clear that the new relationship with CBS wasn't working out as he had hoped it would for his sons. Joseph decided to meet with Ron Alexenberg, the man who had originally signed the Jacksons to Epic. They tried to convince him once and for all that the group should be able to write and produce its own material. Perhaps Joseph remembered the way Michael used his own initiative to meet with Barry Gordy when the chips were down. He asked his sons to accompany him. Michael was astonished that his father would ask for assistance and couldn't help but be suspicious of his motives. Still, he agreed to go along. Michael considered the group's future so important, he was willing to overcome, at least temporarily, his aversion to his father and cooperate with him on this matter, just as Joseph put his public facade as a father. Michael will put on his public facade as son. He was still the soft, tender Michael Jackson everyone thought he was, but something was definitely different about him by this time, said James Setup. The Jacksons' pianist and band director, everyone who dealt with him closely, Family Cliff, began to treat softly when dealing with Michael. The quiet power he was gaining was amazing to me. I never seen anyone have that much influence over people without having a stern attitude. I noticed that when he spoke, people were starting to listen. He was still avoiding things, but now it was a bit more reluctantly. Joseph and the brothers were beginning to give him space. I began to notice that if they saw one iota of displeasure in his face, they began to get worried. For sure, things were changing as Michael was growing up. Still, it was not difficult to imagine that his brothers resented Michael's power. Even if it did benefit them, it didn't feel good to them that Michael was the one who always ended up meeting with the record company bosses. During the meeting with Ron Alexenberg, Michael and Joseph explained that they were unhappy with the way the Jacksons' careers had thus far evolved at CBS and at the time had become for the company to finally allow them control over an album. If you can't do it, Michael said, then we need to move on. Why waste more of your money on records that weren't going to sell? Let us work on our own record. Then you'll have a hit. Otherwise, you won't. Ironically, and unbeknownst to Michael and Joseph, the new CBS Records president, Walter Yugodev, had already decided to drop the Jacksons from the label. In his view, the Jacksons were no longer commercially viable. By that thinking, he was on the same page as Eric Ebner at Motown. The CBS The two CBS albums were not successful enough to warrant a third, said Walter Yakutiv. Bobby Colby, then head of Epic's West Coast artist relations, recalled the people I was working with at CBS really wanted to get them out of the deal with the Jacksons. They wanted me to try to buy them, the Jacksons, out. But I feel so bad for these guys. I like them. I said to myself, why, my guy, if I give these people $100,000 to go away, they're going to take it, pay their bills, and then be out of the music business forever. Imagine the humiliation Joseph and his sons would have suffered if, after all they had gone through to sever their ties with Barry Gordy, the new label's president, were to then drop them from his roster. Bobby Columbia was right. The setback probably would have finished the Jacksons for good, and Joseph would have been blamed for the act's demise. Luckily for all concerned, Bobby Columbia managed to convince his bosses to give the Jacksons one more chance at Epic. This time, the brothers will have more involvement in their work. If they fail, they'll have no one to blame but themselves. So Michael put forth just that proposition at the meeting. Ron Alexenberg agreed to it. It was a done deal anyway. Before Joseph and Michael even got to the meeting, however, father and son apparently needed to show the label executives that they had the initiative and drive to take a project of their own before they would be guaranteed the company's full support. That went pretty well, didn't it, son? Joseph said in the elevator after the meeting. He emphasized the word son. Then we're descending in the car full of CBS executives and employees during lunch hour. Michael was observed, smiling bitterly at his father. He later recalled that the subsequent ride back to the hotel was a silent one. When they got back to the hotel, as Michael recalled it, Joseph put his arm around Michael's shoulders as they walked around the lobby. You're a winner, Michael, he told him. All my boys are winners. Every single one of them. You got that? I got it, Joseph, Michael said. I got it.